Did you know that, according to the Migration Policy Institute, President Trump processed more than 400 immigration policy changes since he took office? 400. That's a crazy number of policies with respect to immigration. But another way to measure that number is in terms of the immigrants that are not coming to America anymore, that are not receiving green cards anymore, that are being denied employment authorization, EAD cards, and more. That's how we can measure those changes. President-elect Joe Biden promised that he's going to reverse the policies of this administration. President-elect Joe Biden promised that he's going to reverse the policies of this administration when it comes to immigration. In this video, we'll explore the trends in approvals and denials of all these immigrant visas, K-1 visas, non-immigrant visas that the new administration will need to reverse. So, what are you waiting for? I'll see you on the other side. Hello everybody. So in this video, we're going to talk about trends in immigration approvals and denials as it relates to U.S. embassies and consulates abroad. So we'll talk about CR1, K-1 visas. We'll talk about USCIS, adjustment of status cases, approvals and denials statistics, and why it's happening. So make sure you stick to the end because I'm going to go through a lot of these categories. I'll give you some statistics, and most importantly, we'll talk about why it's happening and how the Biden administration is going to be reversing these policies one by one. So let's dive right in. Welcome back to our immigration channel where we talk about immigration updates, visa information, and all the good things you need to know about immigration and how to make your immigration journey even better. My name is Jacob Sapochnik and I'm an immigration attorney located in San Diego, California, and I have clients in all 50 states. So, number one, let's start with immigrant visas. There were 738,000 fewer immigrant visas issued during Trump's administration since he took office. If you look at the chart on the screen right now, if you look at figure 1, you can see that immigrant visas went down by 83% in October of 2020 compared to the same month in 2016 before Trump took office. And according to the Migration Policy Institute, even before the pandemic, immigrant visas issuance went down by 24%. 24%, that's crazy. If you think about it, there were 738,000 fewer visas issued as of October 2020 compared to if President Obama stayed in power and continued with the same rate of approvals under his administration. That's a lot of visas. Now, if you think about it, the reason why it happened is because consulates and embassies remain to be closed even today. And also, the State Department refused to waive visa interviews, unlike the USCIS, where they did waive a lot of visa interviews. And I'm going to talk about the USCIS statistics in a minute, so make sure you stay and watch that too. But that's the main reason why immigrant visas were not issued, because again, embassies are closed and to this moment they refuse to waive interviews. Maybe they will waive interviews, who knows? If this backlog will continue, I won't be surprised if even the State Department will issue some interview waivers. But for the moment, that's not the case. But you have to remember that another reason why we have less immigrant visas being issued is because on the USCIS side, we've seen an increase in I-130 immigrant petitions denials. So, of course, if immigrant petitions are being denied on USCIS side, there's no visas to be issued on the DOS side because those visas were never going to reach the embassy for an interview since they're denied at the USCIS side. And guess what happens? If denials continue to go up on the USCIS side and on the State Department side, applicants do not want to apply. And you remember a few months ago, USCIS threatened to shut down because they had a financial crisis? Well, guess what? It is true that less people were applying because of rate of denial was scaring so many people. And that could be another reason why less applications were issued by the State Department during the year of 2020. You can see in chart number 2 that the denial rate of immigrant petitions from USCIS has literally doubled for what it was under the Obama administration. So obviously that, all these factors contribute to less visas being issued, obviously. So what can the Biden administration do to reverse this? Well, first of all, they have to streamline the process of the visa interviews at the U.S. embassies and consulates worldwide. They have to focus more on adjudication versus enforcement, right? They have to start reopening these consulates, start scheduling those interviews, and maybe in addition to just reopening the consulates and starting to push those interviews through, also enter into a process of waiving interviews. if couples are in a long-term marriage, if they're able to see from the evidence that there are no red flags, essentially waive the interviews, let them enter the US, and this way ease the backlogs. And who knows, maybe the Biden administration will actually take action on that. So big crisis on the immigrant visa petition. As you can see, more than 700,000 visas were not issued under the Trump administration. Number two, 246,000 fewer adjustment of status to permanent residency were processed under the Trump administration. As you know, adjustment of status applications are filed by immigrants that are currently inside the US. So between March and June of 2020, the rate of approvals for adjustment of status has declined by more than 52%. And you can see that on this chart on the screen right now. Like with immigrant visas, as I mentioned before, the main reason for the decline is USCIS offices were closed for a while. There's been an increase in USCIS denial rate of applications. And by the time they started to waive interviews, it was a little bit too late because the bottleneck and the backlog. By the time they started issuing the visa interview waivers, it was a little bit too late because the number of cases that was sitting there were bottlenecking this whole process and putting it to a stop. And if you look at this chart right now, you can see that the rate of denials by USCIS has almost quadrupled under the Trump administration as opposed to before. And again, that's another reason why there are fewer approvals were issued, just because of so many denials under this administration. And once again, what can Biden's administration do? Well, first of all, what can Biden's administration do? Well, first of all, they have to streamline this process completely. They're going to have to provide better training to USCIS officers to make sure that they are not going to be denying applications in such high rates. At the same time, they need to speed up the process of adjudication of so many of these petitions. People are waiting now for more than 2 years to get their immigrant petitions approved inside the US. That has to be improved and streamlined. Once again, this administration should focus more on adjudication as opposed to enforcement like the Trump administration. And hopefully we'll see in the next year or so a much better rate of approvals, and the wait times will decrease just like we had under the Obama administration. Number three, let's talk about non-immigrant work visas. Under the Trump administration, we've seen an increase of denials of non-immigrant visas. In fact, there are more than 113,000 visas denied under this administration, and you can see in this chart the exact growth of denials specifically for non-immigrant visas, which is quite concerning. These denials of non-immigrant visas, which include H-1Bs and other visas, these denials of non-immigrant visas are a direct effort by the Trump administration to make the hiring of foreign workers more difficult, and that was their agenda from the start. Statistics are a direct result of what the Trump administration have tried to do all along, and it's to prevent foreign workers from coming into the United States, or actually make it more difficult for them to come here. And we can see that not just by the denial rate, but also by the increase for requests for evidence when it comes to all kinds of work visas. And that continues to this day. What can the Biden administration do? Well, first of all, they've got to streamline the whole non-immigrant visa process, increase visa numbers, and also make the process of adjudication more smooth and reasonable. Stop denying visas as a way to deter foreign workers from coming in here. On the contrary, make it more appealing for them to come here and be part of our growing economy. Next, let's talk about international students. There are 698,000 fewer international students coming to the United States under this administration. The number of F and M students crashed from 2016 to 2020 by 75%. This is unheard of. And this is, as you remember, the government were hesitating whether they're going to allow students to come here, who's going to study online, who's going to study on campus. Students were stuck overseas. US embassies and consulates were not issuing visas, and all this resulted in this major decline in student visas coming into the United States. So what can the Biden administration do for the students? Well, first of all, make it a priority for student visas to be processed at US embassies and consulates abroad as we come out of this crisis, because we need those students here, and make it easier for students to actually receive those visas. If they're bona fide students and they want to come to the United States and study here, don't make it hard for these students to get their visas, and make it appealing for them to come here and be able to stay here after they graduate, be able to get experience, to work. I think the Biden administration is going to be focused on making the student visa cultural exchange in the United States a priority as well. Finally, 9 million fewer tourists and business visitors came to the United States under this administration. As of October 2020, there's been a decline of 92% in issuance of tourist visas to the United States. This is a first in history. And you can see it in this chart, the sharp decrease in tourist visas issuance. What can the Biden administration do? Obviously, reverse all the travel bans, open the consulates, and start adjudicating visas like they should. If I want to summarize this administration's policies harmed millions of visitors to the United States as well as Americans. This administration created fear among immigrants and among prospective immigrants who wanted to come here and make a life and help us build our country as well. Biden's administration will not only need to reverse these policies, they'll have to go further. They'll have to go back into old cases that were denied under Trump and create policies to reverse those denials and issue visas to people that should have received visas under the Trump administration. They should also develop a process to streamline visa applications at various embassies and consulates worldwide so that immigrants are not going to have to wait months and months to receive a visa interview and an appointment. President Biden's goal is to rectify the harm we suffered in the last 4 years. He must act boldly and aggressively to make those changes fast and in a very smooth and methodical way. Let's hope it's going to happen, and I believe that he will. Hopefully this information was helpful. If you like this video, make sure you subscribe to our channel. Click our notification bell to be notified from when new videos come out. Also give us a big like so YouTube will be able to share this video with more people just like you. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you on our next video. Watch these two videos for more information just like that.